Welcome back to The Explainer. So let's jump right in, because today we are looking at something honestly pretty uplifting. You know how it is? Every single day our news feeds are just completely flooded with terrifying metrics. And we're talking endless headlines about megatons of carbon emissions, collapsing ice shelves, and these seemingly unstoppable global temperature spikes. It's this massive planetary scale of climate news that makes it incredibly easy to feel paralyzed or just completely overwhelmed. Like the problems just seem way too vast for any one person to tackle, right? But what if I told you that the absolutely most effective way to address these enormous global challenges actually begins right in our own backyards? Today, we are exploring stories of change, real-life community solutions.
So, can small actions truly change the world? It's a huge question, and let's be real, a completely valid one for anyone paying attention to the sheer scale of environmental degradation today. But history actually tells us a very clear and very different story. You see, nearly every sweeping environmental policy shift or massive ecological recovery began with a hyperlocal, grassroots friction point. Throughout this explainer, we're going to take a bit of a journey together to prove that grassroots initiatives, those small, everyday local actions, are the true, undeniable engines driving global progress. And we're going to do that by looking at exact, replicable frameworks that communities are already successfully using to create some really undeniable impact.
All right, let's get into our first section. Grassroots Blueprints for Change.
And specifically, we're going to look at the guardians of the forest. Let's start our global tour far away in the lush, complex ecosystem of the Peruvian Amazon, meeting our first protagonists, the Ashaninka indigenous community. For many years, the Ashaninka people had to watch as parts of their vibrant, vital forest were systematically cut down. And this wasn't just threatening the local wildlife, it was threatening their entire way of life. But instead of just accepting this deforestation as some kind of inevitability, they took highly organized, collective action. And this wasn't just a matter of tossing a few random seeds in the dirt. No, it was strategic ecological restoration, directly aligning with the UN's Sustainable Development Goal 15, life on land. The Ashaninka mobilized by using their deep generational knowledge of the local soil, the native botany, and seasonal rainfall. They meticulously mapped out specific corridors where deforestation had literally severed critical wildlife routes. Then they worked as a completely unified community to cultivate and plant thousands upon thousands of native tree saplings. By doing this, they successfully restored complex animal habitats, stabilized the local microclimate, and brought back clean air. It's just a perfect, tangible anecdote of how localized, highly informed conservation efforts can physically reverse devastating environmental damage.
Now let's switch gears and look at Section 3, Growing Urban Communities. We're transitioning all the way from the wild forests of Peru to the bustling concrete landscape of Los Angeles, California, to examine a totally different environment. In Los Angeles, the LA Community Garden Council helps create these vibrant community gardens right in the middle of an intense urban grid. I mean, think about the profound impact of turning an abandoned, trash-filled vacant lot into a thriving hub of urban agriculture. This specific local environmental action provides garden plots to residents across widely diverse socioeconomic backgrounds. For families living in food deserts, this suddenly gives them direct access to grow their own heirloom tomatoes, fresh greens, and nutritious vegetables. But the impact goes far, far beyond just food. These localized gardens physically cool down neighborhoods that are suffering from the urban heat island effect, which makes the air noticeably fresher and the environment way more resilient. Plus, they act as critical social anchors. They build incredibly tight-knit bonds as people from all walks of life share their harvests, cultural recipes, and gardening techniques. It brilliantly illustrates the true power of community engagement, transforming these gray, concrete spaces into shared, diverse green havens.
Moving right along to Section 4, Building a Sustainable City.
Now you might be wondering, what happens when we scale this concept up from a community garden to an entire municipality? Well, we're moving up the municipal ladder to Santa Monica, USA, to see exactly how local governments successfully apply these same sustainable development concepts. Santa Monica decided to become a designated sustainable city. And they didn't just make vague, politically convenient promises. They actually engineered a rigorous, structured program. Step 1 required setting incredibly clear, non-negotiable targets. They mandated precise reductions in municipal water usage and established strict, quantified timelines for adopting 100% renewable energy for city facilities. Then came Step 2, which involved continuous, data-driven progress measurement. They tracked specific indicators constantly, stuff like gallons of water saved per household and solar kilowatt hours generated right on municipal roofs. By continuously monitoring the data, if a specific neighborhood's water use suddenly spiked, the city knew exactly where to intervene with targeted education and resources. And step 3 is the direct result of that relentless focus, actually achieving a greener, healthier city. It's a highly structured empirical methodology driven by the city officials and its residents working in complete tandem.
Which brings us to Section 5, the power of teamwork.
Okay, so this brings us to a really important synthesis portion of our explainer. I want you to mentally connect the dots here for a second. What do the Ashaninka people in the Amazon, the urban gardeners in Los Angeles, and the municipal officials in Santa Monica all have in common? Well, they all utilize 3 core blueprint pillars: shared teamwork, local knowledge, and defined clear goals. Let's break down exactly why this specific combination is so uniquely powerful. You see, top-down environmental interventions often fail because they completely ignore the ground truth. But local knowledge prevents well-meaning but ultimately misguided interventions. The Ashaninka knew exactly which native tree species would survive their local climate. A foreign NGO wouldn't have necessarily known that. LA residents knew precisely which vacant lots got the right sunlight and were safe to cultivate. Define clear goals, like Santa Monica's strict water metrics, give that localized community effort a precise, measurable direction. And finally, shared teamwork provides the actual human capital, the labor and the momentum to cross the finish line. Honestly, whether you're planting a forest or tracking citywide energy usage, these 3 pillars form an unbreakable framework that empowers communities to make real, tangible changes.
And that leads us perfectly into Section 6, your local action challenge. Now we are turning the focus directly back onto you, the viewer, transforming all this abstract knowledge into an empowering call to action. Because the whole point of these blueprints is that they are highly accessible tools meant to be used by you. Launching your own local environmental action doesn't require a massive budget, a background in atmospheric science, or permission from some global authority. You can take the 3 pillars we just discussed and apply them to literally anything, starting a school recycling program, organizing a neighborhood cleanup, or creating a small community garden. Let's walk through a quick mini scenario to see how actionable this actually is. Imagine you want to organize a neighborhood cleanup. You don't just wander out there with a trash bag, right? You use your local knowledge to identify the specific creek or street corner where debris constantly accumulates after a heavy rain. Then, you establish defined clear goals, maybe committing to removing 50 pounds of plastic by noon. And you rely on shared teamwork by distributing flyers and getting 5 of your neighbors involved. Suddenly, you aren't just picking up trash, you are executing a proven ecological blueprint.
Which brings us to this defining message: think local, act local. The source material emphasizes this repeatedly, and I really want you to absorb this core takeaway from today's explainer. The Ashaninka people started their massive reforestation project with just a few community leaders deciding enough was enough. The vast network of LA community gardens started with one single reclaimed vacant lot. Every single massive environmental victory starts small. Broad global sustainability is quite literally built on top of these hyper-local foundations. Every single small victory compounds and builds toward a much healthier planet for everyone.
So, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to ponder. What specific environmental challenge do you clearly see in your school or neighborhood right now? Take a close look around your own backyard. Start thinking about how you can apply those 3 pillars today, because these local actions we've explored are actually the very foundation of the Worldwide Global Goals Plan, which is this massive, sustainable planet framework that we will be exploring together in our next explainer. Thank you so much for learning with me today. Keep observing your community, and I'll catch you next time.